Hi, Michelle. Hi, Emily.
Hello.
Hi, Belinda.
So good to see you guys and finally meet you.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, you
I'm
too.
looking forward to actually meeting in person
That'll
sooner
be-
than later.
yeah, that would be great.
Yes.
All right. So thank you for joining me. And I'm here with Michelle Linden and Emily Palmer of Wild Mother Collective. I'm going to start with your bios and I'll start with Michelle's first.
Okay.
Michelle believes community is power and that mothers in all forms are at the center of life on earth. Her background is in teaching, from corporate training to yoga to giving direction to toddlers. Teaching for her is about relationships, discovery, and bridging gaps. The flip side of teaching is learning, and she seeks that just as much. She has been a student of yoga, human development, plants, herbs, and kitchen witchery. She continually learns from great teachers, embodiment practices, ritualizing the mundane, family wellness and support, including ancient and holistic postpartum and women's well care. Most importantly, she has been both a teacher and a student of her own children. Yes, they have taught her the most about what she's capable of. Her time with them is the inspiration for her work. Is there anything you want to add to that, Michelle?
You got it. That was nicely done.
Okay, great. Okay, and then for Emily, this is Emily Palmer. And for the last 20 years, Emily has supported, nurtured, and educated young children and their families as a Waldorf educator. She is the creator of Fernwood Farm School, a magical little preschool where adults and children alike are encouraged to play in the mud, frolic with chickens, and revel in the abundance of Mother Nature. She weaves a deep love, appreciation, and understanding of childhood, relationships, nature, play, wonder, and the power of a good story. She uses the skills of inner alchemy, somatic embodiment, process work, mindfulness, as well as shamanic and conscious dream work to help others expand their capacity for pleasure, joy, and connection, allowing their empowered self to become the wise leader of their own story. I mean, I get chills when I'm reading your bios, lady.
It feels great to hear them read. I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh
I think
my
that's
gosh.
a workshop of its own. We need to write bios and have people read them to you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, it's true. You know what? That's so funny because that would be so helpful because it's literally like, you know what?
Yeah.
You are a powerhouse. You guys are both powerhouses. And it's just incredible the way that you've written your bios to position yourselves in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I want to start. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I comment on that of just, yeah, of how, what a great gift that is for people and for anyone. Like I could see that as something of just like how to reframe your story in your life in this, like, because all it is a framing of you as that hero or heroine or something like, here I am, I'm doing this.
Yeah, and we can actually change our lives by changing our story.
Yes, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
just as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all the same things, but you know, when you just shift just a little bit of like how that story is told.
Yeah.
Yes. And, you know, being an advocate of Waldorf education and Rudolf Steiner and all his teachings, I especially love Waldorf for early childhood. It's just completely magical. And the power of story is incredible. The therapeutic stories. What? You can actually work out issues just with a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you should have a workshop on that. So that'll be next. There'll be other things that we talk about. Let's start with, please tell us about Wild Mother Collective. I love the name. What is it? What was the inspiration behind it? And what is your mission?
Hey, do you want to go? Do you want me to
go? You go.
Okay. Well, Emily and I had been working together at a Waldorf school for several years, and then we went off to develop our own things, and we were each working staying in touch, but working, developing things. And as we would get together, we started realizing that our interests were overlapping, and the places that we wanted to have an effect and send ripples of goodness out into the world were very synchronistic. And so we began talking about how we could work together and what our inspirations were and how good it feels to be in collaboration as opposed to working individually. And that feeling of inspiring one another and reflecting each other, and it just builds, the energy just builds, and it feels really good, and it feels more easeful. So we're like, yeah, let's do this. So then I have to tell you this little story because it was really funny. So then I hired someone to kind of like help us do some marketing and put together a website and, do some branding, and gave her our story. And she said, let's call it The Wise Mother. And I was like, okay. So I go to Emily and I'm like, okay, we're going to call it The Wise Mother. Like, here are our choices. We chose The Wise Mother, da, 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 da. Like 2 weeks later, I woke up and I was like, I'd had a dream that it was called Wild Mother. And I called her and I said, we can't call it Wise Mother. We got to call it Wild Mother. That's so much more in alignment with what we want to do. And she goes, well, I thought that's what it was the whole time.
Hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. She's like, I never heard Wise Mother. She heard Wild Mother the entire time. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah. That's how
yeah. In our go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna to circle back to that. That's how we kind of came to be, and our mission is always evolving and changing, as we are. But what we really came into alignment with and resonance with is just like this deep love of supporting women and mothers in finding their own, really authentically aligned true path in that journey, because it's a journey of self-discovery. It's constant expansion, and shift and change. And just, we saw so many women and us as mothers too, meeting those places of self-doubt and trying to like find the answers outside of ourselves, because that's how we're trained. And we just wanted to help bring a space for them to really feel into it and find it themselves.
Well, and that's really true, because not only is it hard because we often look outside of ourselves, but when we go inward and we tap into our intuition, the outside world doubts it. Yes. And if we've never seen our intuition manifested, then we have doubts too. Wow. And so it makes it that much harder to really step into our own. Right? So it's great that you have that. And I love the like Wild Mother Collective, because it's a wild ride.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It's a wild ride, and there's a wildness inside of each woman and each mother that often gets suppressed, but it's in that wildness that we find our answers. That is our compass. Our wildness is our truth.
It's true. And you know what? I know that we're talking about mothers, but when I think about wildness, I feel like mothers, when we get together, we will, our wildness will come out because we support each other, right? And so we get moments where this wildness can come out. And we also, because we're so in touch with our intuition, we allow it to come out at certain times. But dads and men, they have a wildness inside that a lot will keep suppressed because certain expectations of them. And when they get together, they sort of just talk surface talk. they don't go deep. And so, man,
Yeah.
can somebody please create like a wild father collective?
It would be,
yeah.
would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is really part of a
Mhm.
conversation, an ongoing conversation for us. There's only the two of us at this point, and like, you have to start somewhere, you know, but in the way that patriarchy, I just saw one of my teachers quote something like that, something about, you know, patriarchy has, you know, had such a negative effect on women and mothers, but it's covertly had an effect on men and fathers, and they need just as much support coming out of this and finding their authenticity as mothers and women do, and
Givers.
and
They
givers.
don't have to be providers all the time. They're givers, and in giving, you provide, and the universe provides.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. But I also think that is also that's a place for men and fathers to start doing that work. Like I don't think it's not my job as a woman to do that for them. That's their work.
Yeah, it's never our job as anyone to help anybody else
Right.
their work,
Mhm.
right? They
Yeah.
have to step into it on their own.
Yeah, but there's place for that, and I know there's wonderful people doing those things and finding new authentic ways, and yeah, so we work with mothers and women because that's one who we are, and that's who we naturally tend to work with through our work with education. But it's for everyone. It doesn't matter how you identify. This is
Right.
it's finding your wisdom.
Yes, exactly. Finding your inner wisdom.
Yeah.
Now, I love how you describe Fernwood Farm School as a magical little preschool where adults and children alike are encouraged to play in the mud, etc. Now, do you actually find that the adults do come and frolic?
At times we've
Yeah.
had different things. We do work where sometimes parents come, we have parent-child classes or types of things, and so the parents are there as well, and we like to engage them in many ways. But I've just definitely seen that the joy and inspiration the children receive from it just ripples out. And so I've seen that with families where they're spending more and more time outdoors in nature because of it, because they see how happy their children are. And you know, they just become fearless in it, of like, oh, we can go outside no matter the weather, the whole family. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just can imagine if I were to have put my daughter, she's 13 now, if she was in preschool and the call from the teacher was, okay, tomorrow we're going to have the parents come and you will have a day frolicking in the mud and the chicken, working with the chickens. It's, you know,
Mhm.
you're going to do it. And you basically lead them like you would the kids.
Mhm.
I just think that would be magical.
It's so funny because I often get that request from parents. They're like, can we have a day that it's just parents, or could we have a sleepover?
Yes.
A kindergarten sleepover for adults, and you tell us bedtime stories. I'm like, oh my God, I would love to do that.
Yeah, I will sign up to take care of the kids.
Okay.
My house and have a sleepover, and parents can have a sleepover with you guys.
Yeah. Because you feel nourished even on the periphery of it. You know that there's goodness there, and it's this place to just freely explore in that state of wonder. And as adults, we miss those opportunities. We don't take them. They're always there for us, but we don't always choose to step into that place.
Right.
Yeah.
And so many of us are raised in, you know, cities, metropolitan areas, that we've never even had that as children.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't know. And so it's nice to get back to what could be and what is.
Yes.
But it's also part of the reason why, even like through Fernwood Farm School and through Wild Mother Collective, we're building community, and we have events where the parents and the children come, whether it's the parent-child classes, or we have Fernwood Farm days, or the parents are invited to come and spend the day and like work in the garden alongside the children, help us bake, you know, so that I remember as a new Waldorf mom, like being exposed to that magic that existed in the classroom around the teacher and watching the teacher with the children.
Yeah.
That's how I learned what kind of parent I wanted to be.
Right.
I had no idea until I saw that as a model.
Yeah, same. I was introduced to Waldorf education by some educator friends of mine, a husband and a wife. They were both educators, had worked in public schools, private schools, low income. They were like, you need to put your daughter in a Waldorf school. We highly recommend it. Go check out the parent toddler. And we went to parent toddler and I was sold. I was just like, oh, wait, what? No, get off my phone. Oh, right. Because I'm only here at parent toddler for about 4 hours. And this is my child.
Yeah.
And I need to dedicate to her. Right. And it's just from then on, just all the knowledge that Waldorf educators usually have to give you a picture of where your child's at developmentally. It's just so useful.
Yeah.
And the modeling.
And what you just brought up of how to be present with them, because our world is moving so quickly all the time, and we don't, and I'm still battling with this on a regular basis, right? Of like those moments where you're like, whoa, I was actually just going 150 miles an hour the last 2 weeks. I thought I was going at maybe like 30, but like until you have an experience of what it means to really feel in your body the slowing down and the connection and the presence with your child, unless you know that, unless you feel that, unless you're in an environment where that really exists, you don't know how to make a different choice
Right.
to move 150 miles an hour.
Right. And if you think about it, you know, in the normal family, oftentimes parents work a good portion of the day, the kids are in school a good portion of the day. And when you come home, if you're still working, sure, you're fixing dinner and all of that, but there's got to be a time where you actually can just be present. Hopefully it's at dinner time when you're completely present and you can really focus on what your child has to say, because they have so many stories to tell. And even if you're gonna have to work after dinner or whatever, I don't know what it is, but it's like trying to make that conscious decision. What I try to do, and sometimes I fail at it, is even if I'm sending an email or a text, if my child's coming to talk to me, to put it down and look at her and listen to what she has to say.
Yeah. It seems like the weight of that, or the investment of that, is heavy up front, you know, like, oh, I have to stop what I'm doing. And for us to shift gears as adults when we have this goal in front of us that we need to reach, and it can feel so hard, like, you know, turning a ship, you know, in the midst of a storm or something. But then everything, they just are needing that connection. And then like, it's just a few moments. And then the rest of the time becomes easeful, as opposed to like, if you're battling, not now, just a minute. And then like meltdown happens and all the things. And then it can be hours of insanity.
Right. Good point. You don't think about that at the moment, right?
But in the moment, it really is. It's just like, oh, just take this minute to listen intently with full presence, and then they go back on. Or, you know, I like to remind parents too of like, it's depending on the age, we can also set those boundaries for ourselves of like, I have to finish this message and then I will listen to everything you have to say. Like, we can make those choices of when it happens too, but when it does happen, it's not like you need to do 3 hours of intense, like, here we are together. It's it's those little consistent touch points throughout the day that make the connection strong.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so that then brings us to your ebook that you have. Simply Home. I was very excited to see that it was called Simply Home Autumn, which
Mhm.
means you probably have it seasonally. And
Mhm.
it's so exciting. The content is wonderful.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
really easily digestible, right? Because it's not that long. And it's really, I love that you have the reminder that take whatever you wish from it. Maybe you just want to take it as inspiration and do something on your own. It's not hard and fast, and I love that you have recipes. That's super helpful for parents, because we're always packing lunch and snack. And so it's great to have these recipes to go to. And the songs. Oh my gosh. I love that you guys have the songs recorded.
Oh, good.
Amazing.
It's helpful. It's hard to learn a song if you can't hear it.
Right. And it's so, I feel like you're Simply Home, while it's great for a mom of, any age, child or no child, it's super helpful for the ones that have littles,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? And with everybody like homeschooling, that's really helpful because this is a really good homeschooling guide.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The singing is so nice, and the stories and the rhymes.
Oh.
So great. Now, how much does the ebook cost?
It's $13.
Okay. Perfect. That's so inexpensive for like guidance through the seasons, $13 each season, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really nice. And they can just download it off of Wild Mother Collective.
Yep. Mhm.
Yes,
You wanna-
they can.
Yeah.
We have go ahead.
Yeah, it's on our website. We have a whole page for it. And yeah, it's downloadable and then, printable too. There's all sorts of handouts to make things easy as we have different activities to help you just become more organized and rhythmical. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I feel like, oh man, so many times I always just say, man, if we could reach people when they're giving birth, like at hospitals, just to have this ebook available, like
Oh,
every season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe if you have like midwives or doulas that work with clients or whatever, but mostly people who are in hospitals really need it. Because I feel like people who are giving birth at home are already there. They have a sense of wisdom and everything. Like if I gave birth in a hospital, and if somebody had handed me this book, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what is this? This is amazing. These are ideas that I can sort of live into before I actually have a toddler, right?
Mhm.
But in the meantime, I could get to learn the songs and kind of get into the rhythm of the seasons.
Mhm.
yeah.
That would be so helpful. So if anybody is listening to this, interview and works in the hospital field,
Yeah. Or I'm new and expecting mama. And you want to
yes,
make it easier for them.
Yeah.
yeah. And then baby gifts. Like if
Yeah.
someone's having a baby shower,
Mhm.
download this and gift it to them with maybe things that they can use in the home or beeswax.
Yeah,
They
right.
can start doing or anything like that to start prepping. So those are ideas.
Yeah.
All of and we took great care to make sure that the recipes are supporting the body through the seasons so that you're really getting the nutrients that you need to have your wellness be its most optimal, like during that time and what the body is needing. And then on the songs too, because I do postpartum work, one of the things that the mamas ask me is, do you have any songs? Like, and how wonderful to have songs, seasonal songs that you can come back to time, like each season, year after year after year, and your child knows, and bringing that rhythmic, special flavor to that time of the year through song.
Yes. And when they're really, really young, it's really helpful to have them connect into the seasons by the songs you're singing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. Isn't
Oh
it
my
so
God.
cool?
It's the best. It's the best. And I really love that you mentioned about eating with the seasons, right? We never think about that because we always shop at a grocery store. But when you're eating with the seasons, at least this way, you see the ingredient list that you guys have through your recipes. When you go to the grocery store, look for these because these are what's in season. And then
Yeah.
if you're purchasing from a CSA, oftentimes these are the things that are coming in your box.
Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you noticed that.
Yeah.
Yay.
It's so good. All right. So, Michelle, you
Yes.
had mentioned that your expertise is really in the birthing process and the short years just after birth.
Yeah.
What can you share that might be the most important aspects of prenatal and postnatal work?
The most, oh gosh, there's so much. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to name a few things. I would say one of the main things, and this actually came from one of my clients. She gave me this phrase because at the end of each postpartum family that I work with, I have like a closing interview and I ask them a series of questions. And one of the questions that I ask is, if you were to tell a family that's just about to embark on the journey that you've just completed, what would you say to them? And she said, let it change you. Change you. Yeah.
Goosebumps.
Hmm.
That is so good.
So yes, so let it change you. And so that is one of the biggest places that I see struggle, in that we're trying to get back to normal. We're trying to come back after this extremely massive life-changing experience and transformation and go back to what we knew before. And there is no what was before anymore. And when we can release and surrender and accept what is new, then the challenges that will innately be there, because you will have sleep deprivation, you will have all kinds of new
Memory
things.
loss.
So many new things that you're going to have to navigate and learn. But that is part of the process, right? So if we can see it as a lifelong journey and be patient with ourselves in the learning of it, and allow ourselves to unfold and our children to be our teachers, and to be present and observe what is there, and to not resist in trying to be what we were before, it all just goes a little bit easier.
Definitely. And I would add to that,
Please.
not even wanting what we were before, but actually a concept in our mind of what we think it should be.
Yes.
Forget all that.
Yeah.
Get it. Forget it. Yeah. But part of the forgetting, and this is another piece, is that when we do move through a transformation like that, or the rite of passage into motherhood, whether it's your first child or your fifth child, it's still a passage, a rite of passage into motherhood, that we become new again. And we need our community, we need our elders, we need guides, people that can surround us and support us as we're coming out of the transformation, so that we can reorient into who we are becoming and feel supported in that becoming. And that can be really hard in our modern day culture, right? Like we may not have a village, we may not have neighbors, our family may live far away. It's part of the reason why we're here.
Right.
And that there are other ways to like find that, you know.
Yeah, you create your village.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Right.
Mhm.
I love that. And that I guess applies to prenatal and postnatal work,
yes.
right? Let it change you.
Yeah, let it change you. Yeah.
That's so powerful and so helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's something that probably, another thing that you could gift a mom, just the saying, like framed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's true. It's true. And expect the unexpected. You
Mhm.
can make all of your plans. That's the other big thing. Before birth is just the beginning, right? We like do all of this work to get to the birth and we think, okay, like I did it. And it's like, no, it's just the start.
That's the beginning.
It's
Yeah.
just the beginning. And expect the unexpected. If you are holding to your expectations, again, there's that resistance and it will
Right.
just become more difficult.
Mhm.
Well, that's a life lesson too.
Well, that
Yeah.
is too, but in your face with parenting. It's
Yes.
really
All the time.
all the time.
I remember when I had my baby and I was literally just like floundering, and I would have friends on Facebook that's like, oh, wait till 6 months. It gets better in 6 months. And I get to 6 months and I'd be like, what are you talking about? Sure, she's not doing the same things that she was doing, but now she's exhibiting these other behaviors that I have no idea how to address. So I don't know that it actually gets better. Does it ever get better? But hey, if I were to have somebody had said, let it change you, maybe I would have been like, oh, great, it's lovely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
Too of like let it change you, but also like now you're creating this relationship with another being who has their own agenda and desire, and so you're working in collaboration.
Yeah.
It's not just you, and so you're being changed, they're being changed, you're actively working on each other. And so how do you allow space for that too? Because when we hold on to those expectations without seeing what is present here with this person, what do they need, what do they want, how do we bridge that? That's where conflict begins.
yeah, and that's where disappointment begins
Mhm.
as well. And we
Yeah.
don't need disappointment, but yeah, it doesn't leave room for us to really sit and nurture our little ones,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ourselves. Like,
right? And ourselves.
mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So, Emily, I'm looking at your list of skills: inner alchemy, somatic embodiment, process work, mindfulness, as well as shamanic and conscious dream work. Those sound like just really rich and yummy things to dive into as a new mother. But like also anytime in your life, like now. Like, oh my gosh, I would love to dive into shamanic and conscious dream work. What is that? Lead me down that path. But because you guys are working with toddlers and everything, would you recommend starting into any of this before you have a child? Like when you're expecting a child?
Yes. At any
You have worked on expecting mothers.
Yeah, but it's helpful at any moment, because all you're doing is you're filling your resources, your toolbox for whatever may come up. And my experience, and definitely through working with many parents, it seems to be the common theme of, as parents, this process of self-discovery, you're going through a lot of your own inner stories from your own childhood. And and choosing what you want to pass on to your child. And sometimes it's done really unconsciously, and sometimes it's done consciously. And so here are tools to bring conscious attention to, how do I want to show up for myself in this process? How do I want to show up for my child? You know, what stories am I acting on and carrying that maybe no longer serve me, or aren't actually true and aren't what I want to pass on? You know, so you get to start uncovering that before your child is with you. So that when you meet those challenging moments where you're triggered by something, or something seems difficult, you have all of this yummy resource to fall back on, of like, okay, how do I want to work with this, and what might actually be happening here? I find that it really helps give you different perceptions of an experience, and allow you to really feel into the perceptions of the other person as well.
Yeah. So you work with people one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
and are these generally like one-time sessions, or is it like therapy and you see them regularly?
It honestly can be any of that. Yeah, any of that. For people that really want to go deeper and learn consistent tools, then, you know, working together for a period of time helps, because there's a lot that can be, you just keep learning all of these practices, all of these tools. And then we have parents that come with a very specific targeted issue. And then we just really help them find that place of ease and spaciousness around it.
Right.
Find that path that feels good and joyful for them. And that might be all they need for a period of time.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm looking at what you guys both offer, and it seems as if like it would be a great package to gift somebody, um, like a new baby gift or expectant mother gift, a package of like working with you, Emily, beforehand with all of the inner alchemy and somatic embodiment, and then with Michelle through like the prenatal and then the postpartum. So it's sort of like this whole package of spiritual and mental and physical work.
Why aren't we packaging?
I know.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You know, because we always think about just kind of material items that the families would need, but it seems like this kind of work is really helpful, because as parents, we obviously always have trigger points when we're working with our children. And if we can have a mentor that we can work with, like you guys, that has that kind of whole picture of the spiritual component of having a child and how we can nurture our soul as well as our physical being, it helps us to transform.
Yeah. That's a beautiful vision. One of the things that we've talked about a lot is just this idea of continuity of care. Like we need that. And when we have those trusted people that are walking alongside us in this journey, it just feels gentle, more gentle, you know?
Yeah. And I'm like, do I have any friends that are pregnant? Who can I give this to?
And a big thing for Michelle and I too in our work as Wild Mother Collective is that continuity of care, and recognizing that there are we're always in a state of transition, and we can always use support in that. But you know, it's not just the new moms. It's, you know, when your child, you know, in that adolescent period, like the way that we have to shift in our parenting, and how do we show up now? It's different than how I had to show up before. And then when my child is leaving home, and I have an empty nest, or, you know, for Michelle and I, like when you enter menopause, like what is that for me as a mother? And it's just like, how am I showing up now for myself as well? And so we just recognize that there are all of these thresholds that we are continuously moving through. And, that's basically, we just want to be those, that support and helping facilitate that, and recognizing and honoring that. But like, these are
Right.
thresholds. We're the threshold keepers for you if you so desire to have help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that, because when I look at you guys having the Fernwood preschool and seeing where your expertise lies, it doesn't really necessarily say that you also can counsel, support during adolescent years, and give like the picture of where your adolescent is, and also when they're moving away and shifting off to college, what does that look like, and you do offer support around that. And so
Yeah.
eventually you'll probably have workshops, whether in person or online, where you talk to parents that have adolescents and have high schoolers or kids that are going off to college, and you offer that as well. Oh, that's awesome, because that's really helpful. I think a lot of
It
people.
is the whole journey
The
of
whole motherhood
the
journey.
whole motherhood journey.
Oh my
Never
God.
ends.
It
Never ends.
never ends.
No, it never ends.
Never ends. You never get it done.
And then all of your support that you offer, like if you were to do one-on-one counseling with either of you, is that available just remotely?
Mhm.
Or would you prefer in person?
We
We do both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've definitely done both. Most of it is remote. Like there's people that we work with across the country, that are on the East Coast and things like that. So we've worked with people from Australia. That's always an interesting time change to like work through, but but of course, if there's somebody local that is wanting and desiring that connection to be one-on-one, we're
Yeah.
definitely open to one-on-one.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. And so even Emily, your shamanic work and all of that can be done remotely.
It can. I always prefer in person for things like that. I find it much more potent that way. But it is definitely something that can be done remotely as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That was super informative.
Great. Thank
Is there anything else that you two would like to share?
Do you?
No, I'm thrilled and excited, and I really enjoyed having this conversation with you and meeting you. And thank you so much for inviting us.
Yeah, I was
Thank
just
you.
saying the same. Just so much gratitude for having this time with you.
Yeah, thank you. And I look forward to hopefully creating with you guys in person.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
And
good.
creating things.
Yes, that would be great.
I love that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Stay
I'll
cool.
talk to you guys soon. Oh, and I forgot to mention Fernwood School is also taking applicants still.
Yes, we are.
Great. And so you still have room. And if anyone has a preschooler, it's ages
almost 3 until 5.
perfect.
Mhm.
Great. And it's located in
Milwaukee area. Yeah.
perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.